Well, it looks like she's just been caught in what could certainly be taken as in a lie. All right, all these things that she says she has dealt with over the last year, all these encounters of racism.
In a shocking moment that stunned fans and reporters alike, Angel Reese recently made a jaw-dropping admission. She's never had a bad encounter with fans this after weeks of claiming otherwise. For months, she has publicly shared her experiences of racist taunts and harassment from Indiana Fever fans, sparking widespread outrage and even an official WNBA investigation. But in a routine media session, Reese's statement left everyone questioning the truth behind her narrative.
Angel Reese, the most coddled, babied professional athlete in all of sports, continues to be the most babied and coddled professional athlete in all of sports, continues to have her peers say, "You go, girl. You be unapologetically yourself. Don't worry how rude, how arrogant, and how disrespectful you are. Don't worry about all the lies that you perpetrate. Don't worry about that."
The league's investigation cleared the air, but now, Reese may have just undone everything and exposed the truth live on camera.
Remember the guy that I guess, was out there waiting for him supposedly, and when the team was coming out, and of course we saw footage of that, and there was nothing malicious to it whatsoever that anybody could see. And then of course the Indiana Fever fans were yelling racist things or making racist noises out around the court. WNBA did an investigation, found nothing.
It all started like any other media session after a loss for the Chicago Sky. The team had just been defeated by the Indiana Fever, and Angel Reese, as usual, took a seat in front of the cameras ready to answer the questions that were bound to come. This wasn't a particularly surprising moment. After all, Reese had been at the center of attention for weeks due to the ongoing controversy surrounding alleged racist encounters with Indiana Fever fans. It was a story that had gotten massive media traction and even prompted an official investigation by the WNBA. Reese sat back, seeming at ease, prepared for the routine questions. But then, in an instant, she made a slip-up and admission that would send shockwaves through the sports world. A reporter asked her about the ongoing scrutiny she was facing, to which Reese responded, "I've never had a negative encounter in person." Her words immediately caught everyone in the room off guard. It wasn't just an innocent comment, it was a massive contradiction to everything she had been saying for weeks.
It is embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing. It is absolutely embarrassing. And the fact is that originally it's, oh yeah, we're looking towards everything. Then they had to double down. They actually redacted this statement. They redacted a statement. They redacted the statement saying we're looking at everything, saying no, we're actually not looking at most of the stuff. We're looking at a lie spread on social media that went viral. We are looking into a literal lie spread on social media that got spoken into fact. We're looking at a lie.
For months, she had spoken about racist taunts, hostile crowds, and how her experience at the Fever game had been nothing short of traumatic. Her PR team had worked tirelessly to keep the narrative of victimization intact, but now, here she was on live television, admitting that she had never faced any negative treatment in person. This wasn't just a personal contradiction, it was a revelation that shattered the story she and others had built. It raised serious questions about the legitimacy of the entire narrative. Reese had been positioned as the victim of systemic racism within the sport, but now, she seemed to be telling a very different story. As the room fell into stunned silence, the gravity of her admission started to sink in. This wasn't just a small slip-up, it exposed a lie that had been spread across the league. The media had been reporting, the fans had been divided, and the WNBA had even launched an extensive investigation all based on Reese's claims of abuse.
Talk about investigation with your team with an investigation.
Yeah, I think we agree. I think we're in compliance with them, with the league, and obviously there's no room or space in our game for hate. So we're fine with everything that's going on.
Coach, when did you become aware that there was hate speech that happened?
I think when everyone else did. I think that it's something that we heard about, and so again, we're just forthcoming with anything that the league is able to investigate.
But now, this new revelation threatened to undo everything. What had seemed like an ironclad narrative was now unraveling, piece by piece. And this wasn't just about one athlete. It was a full-scale media storm that REESE had unintentionally set in motion.
I didn't think these things would be a topic this year. It's certainly not at this point, but here we go again.
Because now Indiana Fever players, all right, are getting called into question. Indiana Fever fans are getting called into question today. We got one post on here where somebody's literally calling, they're talking about there should be a boycott. That's what it really is, of the All-Star game over player safety.
The WNBA's investigation into the alleged racist incidents at the Fever versus Sky game was nothing short of thorough. In their effort to uncover the truth, the league's investigation team left no stone unturned. First, they interviewed fans who had been seated in the sections where the alleged racist comments were said to have been made. These interviews were crucial, as they were the people closest to the action, yet not one person could confirm any discriminatory remarks. Next, they reviewed every available angle of security footage. Cameras had captured the action from multiple viewpoints, ensuring that nothing would be overlooked. The footage showed the crowd, the interactions, and the atmosphere during the game. Again, there was no sign of any racist behavior. The lack of physical evidence, no matter how many times the footage was reviewed, painted a clear picture. The alleged incidents simply didn't happen. The investigation didn't stop there. The league also gathered audio recordings from the game's broadcast equipment, hoping to catch something that might have been missed in the visual evidence. But once again, no audio was found that corroborated REESE's claims.
The league is also taking a big L because there's no apologies to any fans whatsoever on this totally BS statement released by the WNBA. Yeah, you found nothing. That's great. That's accurate. Guess who told you you would find nothing? The entire Indiana Fever fan base said you weren't going to find anything. But this league that has never turned a profit decided to accuse their own fans.
On top of that, team staff and arena personnel were questioned. These were the people who were directly involved in managing the environment, and none of them had witnessed any racist behavior from the fan. They confirmed that no complaints had been made during the game, nor had any disruptions been reported by the referees. In the end, the investigation concluded with a bombshell. No evidence of racist remarks or hostile behavior from the Indiana Fever fans. This revelation made REESE's original claim seem increasingly difficult to justify. What had started as a personal story of victimhood now looked more like a narrative built on assumptions, online chatter, and exaggerated claims. The divide between social media and reality couldn't have been more apparent. On Twitter, Facebook, and other platforms, the story had gained traction, spreading like wildfire, fueled by anger and frustration. But the truth, as found by the WNBA's investigation, couldn't have been more different from the viral narrative that had taken hold. And yet, none of this controversy started with evidence. It all began with a single tweet. A tweet that planted the seed of a controversy that would spiral into something much bigger.
Three-time BET Sports Woman of the Year, Angel Reese, says she doesn't pay attention to what folks say about her online because no one has ever said a negative word about her in person. Uh-oh. So what have you been talking about for the last 17 or 18 months? Uh-oh. I hope she realizes she just admitted this and did so on camera with audio. Yeah, nobody's ever going to let her let this down now.
The entire narrative surrounding the alleged racist incident didn't begin with any on-the-ground reports from the game. It started on Twitter, where a single post quickly spiraled out of control. A social media user claimed to have overheard racist remarks from Indiana Fever fans during the game, and that one tweet quickly spread across platforms. As the post gained traction, more users shared it, building a story out of thin air.
For you, Angel, tonight you were extremely efficient, played with a lot of poise and confidence tonight. For for all the scrutiny you do receive online and stuff of that nature, what kind of messages a game like this send to them, as well as just the kind of momentum that this could build for you throughout the season?
Yeah, obviously don't worry about what's going on online. I get so much love in person. I haven't ever had a negative encounter in person ever. And I've been going through this for 3 years. I've never had an encounter in person person that was negative. So people online are behind the keyboard for a reason, and I don't worry about that stuff. I trust my work. My teammates trust me. And I was telling Milla today, like, she felt like she was having a rough day, and I was like, how many times have I had a rough day? And you picked me up. So don't get down to yourself. I know my teammates have my back, my coaches have my back, and that's all that really matters. I don't have to prove anything to anybody but myself and my teammates.
Second row on the left.
Enjoyment tonight was not as you expected. Can I say something? This is
that's wild.
The accusations went viral, despite there being no first-hand witnesses to back them up. The story began to take on a life of its own, rapidly spreading across the internet and gaining momentum with each retweet and share. Interestingly, those who were actually at the game, the players, coaches, and even the staff had no knowledge of any racist behavior. In fact, the coach of the Chicago Sky later admitted that he and his team had only learned about the supposed incident after reading about it online. Tyler Marsh, the Sky's head coach, stated that he was completely unaware of any such behavior during the game. For him, it was just another game, with no reports of any disturbing fan actions. He found out about the allegations only when they started circulating on social media. And when it came to the actual game itself, there were no complaints filed by any of the players or coaches during or after the event. No one had alerted the referees, no one approached security, and no one made a formal report. It wasn't until the social media storm began that anyone started taking the allegations seriously.
Quote, I get so much love in person, I've never had a negative counter in person ever. What did the league just go through 3 weeks ago? Over what was supposed to have been this race hoax, it turned out to be a race hoax, but this big situation in which the Indiana Fever fans were hollering racist remarks and making racist noises. In the league, 10 days this went on. This fiasco went on. And Angel Reese just admitted to the world she's never encountered a single negative person at all.
The lack of complaints from those who were physically present during the game raised serious doubts about the legitimacy of the claims. But the damage was already done, the story had spread, and the media quickly picked it up, amplifying the narrative without questioning its validity. The incident became a media spectacle, a story that wasn't rooted in facts, but in speculation and hearsay. The narrative was being driven by social media posts, not actual events. But things escalated fast, especially when Reese's team tried to silence the story, taking steps to control the narrative in ways that would make the situation even more complicated.
Angel Reese, she goes on and she talks about how she doesn't hear about the outside noise, how she's never had a negative encounter in real life, never had a negative encounter in real life. But Ben, there's no way. There's no way she's never had a negative encounter, you see? You see, this is proof of the negative encounter. The WNBA even conducted an investigation about this negative encounter. No way Angel Reese said that. No way.
As the controversy continued to swirl, the Chicago Sky organization took swift action to manage the growing media firestorm surrounding Angel Reese. It wasn't long before Reese's media access was severely restricted. One-on-one interviews with her became almost impossible to secure, and any planned interactions with reporters were increasingly shut down. Press conferences, which are usually an opportunity for athletes to address the media in an open forum, became brief and controlled cut short before questions could dig deeper into the allegations. The team's public relations team seemed determined to prevent any uncomfortable or potentially damaging questions from reaching Reese. This heavy-handed approach quickly raised eyebrows among reporters covering the story. Journalists began to ask themselves the obvious question: if the allegations against the Indiana Fever fans were truly legitimate, why the sudden need to control the narrative so aggressively?
Angel Reese doesn't care about y'all. It is what it is. She's never had a bad encounter in real life, never had a bad interaction with a fan in real life. Then what was the whole point of this WNBA sham investigation? If you've never had a bad encounter with a fan in real life, if you've never had a bad interaction with a fan in real life, then why not just come out, earn yourself some brownie points, and say, come on, nothing took place here. These are just some Twitter trolls. These are my Reese's Pieces making up news just to keep me relevant. Why didn't you just come out and say that, Angel Reese? You'd probably get a little bit more, what's that word? Respect. Doing something honorable like that.
If the claims of racism were grounded in truth, then why was Reese's team so fearful of letting the media ask tough questions or allow for a more open conversation about what had actually happened? The restrictions only added fuel to the fire, causing suspicion to grow that something about the entire story might not add up. The increased secrecy and media control had an unintended consequence that made the situation look even more suspicious. The more Reese's PR team attempted to control the story, the more people started to wonder why the truth wasn't being allowed to surface in a clear, open way. Could it be that there was more to the story than what Reese had been saying? Were they trying to cover up the fact that the entire controversy might have been fabricated? But Reese didn't help her case when she dropped a viral TikTok that would only fuel the flames.
I mean, what in the world is happening here? So Outkick would go on and say, hold up, let's rewind. Last June, Angel Reese claimed that a white Caitlin Clark fan blocked her and her teammates from entering a team hotel while calling her, quote, a ghetto bitch. Last month, Reese said she had a rough week because she heard a Fever fan shout racial slurs while she shot free throws. Now she says no one has ever said a mean word to her in person.
The video, which featured Reese mocking Caitlin Clark and taunting her fans, seemed completely out of line given the narrative she had been pushing. In it, Reese played up the victim role, claiming to be the target of online hate, but her TikTok revealed a history of her attacking others online. This move was immediately called out, and critics pointed to the hypocrisy of her public stance versus her actions on social media. As the TikTok went viral, it became clear. Reese wasn't just facing the consequences of her words, she was now facing public scrutiny that extended beyond the court.
But it's more fun pushing a lie. It's more fun playing along, keeping your name in the news, keeping your name in the media, keeping your name around drama. It's what you love. It's what you enjoy the best. You don't pay attention to keyboard warriors. You don't pay attention to the internet. Well, why would we respond to people that we don't care about? Why would we subtweet about people that you don't care about if their opinions don't matter?
In the midst of the growing controversy, Angel Reese posted a TikTok that would only deepen the scrutiny surrounding her. The video, which mocked Caitlin Clark, her college basketball rival, featured Reese taunting Clark as a white girl running from the fade. The caption and the tone of the video painted Clark as weak, taking jabs at her in a way that seemed to contradict Reese's earlier public image. As a victim of harassment, Reese's TikTok quickly went viral, and it didn't take long for fans, media, and even critics to point out the glaring inconsistency. This wasn't the first time Reese had used social media to mock her opponents. Her history of engaging in online drama was well documented, with past posts and videos showing her ridiculing other players, including Clark, in ways that were now being scrutinized in light of her current narrative. Reese had positioned herself as the victim of racial attacks, yet her past actions didn't align with that image. Social media users quickly dug into her history, uncovering a trail of double standards. She had previously participated in online jabs, contributing to the toxic environment she now claimed to be a victim of. This contradiction was hard to ignore. How could Reese portray herself as a target of hate while simultaneously being an active participant in online mockery and drama?
The WNBA investigated both Reese's accusations and found nothing. In fact, well, I've called her the Bubba Smollett, or the, Jussie Reese, Jussie Smollett, Bubba Wallace. I mean, she's right there now. She's in that company with false race hoaxes.
The narrative she had carefully constructed began to fall apart as more and more people noticed the hypocrisy. Her posts, intended to be playful or mocking, now seemed to reinforce the very hostility she had claimed to be fighting against. As internet users started connecting the dots between Reese's behavior and her current victim narrative, the truth became undeniable. Reese wasn't just a victim of online hate, she had been part of the very same culture she now decried. The deeper people dug, the more inconsistencies they found.
But this was put out right here. Again, hell, I thought it was fake originally. And I guess it's not. I mean, it's crazy. White girl running from the fade. There's Angel Reese right there. There's, of course, Caitlin Clark doing the responsible thing, not wanting to tank her public relations. Like Angel Reese walking away after the take foul the other night, or the other day against the Chicago Sky.
The picture being painted was no longer one of a lone victim standing up against racist fans. It was a story of a player who had participated in the very drama she claimed to be above. And as more people connected the dots, it became increasingly clear that the WNBA could no longer hide from the truth. The league had to address the mounting evidence of contradictions in REESE's claims, and the pressure to reconcile these inconsistencies grew.
Actually, somebody that comes out and says hating pays too, I would think that that's exactly how she carries herself. Somebody that comes out and says, hey, hating pays too. Yeah, that's kind of how Angel Reese carries herself. Somebody who goes out of their way and says, I want to be the villain. They're watching because of me too.
As the truth began to unravel, major media outlets like ESPN found themselves in an uncomfortable position. For weeks, they had reported on the allegations against the Indiana Fever fans, amplifying the narrative that they had racially targeted Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky. But as the WNBA's investigation found no evidence to support those claims, ESPN and others were forced to walk back their coverage. Their initial reporting, which had been presented as factual, now seemed careless at best and at worst reckless.
She accused the Indiana Fever fan base of being racist. They investigated it. They said those accusations were false. The least that she could do is apologize to our great state and the fans that show up at these games and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Obviously, she's not going to do that.
Reporters who had eagerly jumped on the bandwagon of sensationalism found themselves criticized for promoting unverified stories without properly fact-checking. The rush to cover a story that fit a particular narrative came at the expense of journalistic integrity. The media had been quick to label the Indiana Fever fan base as racist, based on nothing more than unsubstantiated social media posts and hearsay. As the investigation came to a close with no evidence of racism, those same reporters faced backlash from their peers and the public for failing to ask the tough questions earlier. They had been complicit in spreading a story that, in hindsight, was based more on emotion than on fact. Public opinion quickly turned. Fans and viewers who had believed the story felt betrayed. The accusations of racism had been leveled against the Fever fan base without any concrete evidence to back them up. Now, with the truth coming to light, those fans were left reeling. How could they have been labeled as racist when they had done nothing wrong?
I'm also happy that the WNBA treated the matter with the utmost seriousness, followed through with the investigation, and I understand that having a platform comes with a responsibility, and I do not take that lightly. So as our league continues to grow, I am going to grow with it. And I am so committed to be better in how I share perspectives and grow alongside the game that I truly love and adore. I mean, some of my favorite memories as a pro was playing in Indiana, and I truly believe that WNBA, we have the most passionate fans, and I'm grateful for our community. I hope you know that's who I am. All right. Love you guys. Thank you.
The public demanded apologies from the media outlets that had amplified the story, and from Angel Reese herself. But the biggest fallout wasn't happening on screen or in sports headlines, it was unfolding in the court of public opinion. The WNBA had been quick to announce its findings, but the media's handling of the situation had already caused significant damage. Reese's credibility had been shaken, the trust in the league was eroded, and fans now found themselves questioning not only the narrative they had been fed, but the ethics of the media that had been quick to promote it. As the drama unfolded, the real victims were not just the fans wrongly accused, they were the principles of truth and fairness in journalism, which had been trampled in the rush to fuel a controversy.
Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever are the best gift that the WNBA has ever had. I mean, and the fans that show up and pack that place, I mean, sell out crowds every time Caitlin Clark plays. It's so great for Indiana, but it's good for the WNBA. But how dare you accuse our fans, the Hoosiers that show up at these games, being racist when they're not?
As the fallout from the investigation and media coverage began to settle, Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever emerged vindicated. The narrative that had painted them as perpetrators of racism was proven to be completely baseless. They had been unfairly targeted, smeared by a story that had no evidence to support it. The accusations, which had dominated headlines for weeks, were now revealed as a Fabricationa manufactured scandal that had no foundation in reality. The Fever and their fans, who had endured unjust backlash, could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Their integrity had been restored, and their reputation was intact. On the other hand, Angel Reese's credibility took a severe hit. What had started as an attempt to rally support against a perceived injustice now looked more like a reckless manipulation of the truth. Her initial claims of harassment and racism were not only disproven, but also exposed as part of a broader narrative that didn't hold up under scrutiny. With her narrative collapsing, Reese found herself facing intense criticism not just from fans, but from those who had once defended her.
Don't accuse our fans of being racist. I mean, that's the kind of garbage that gets thrown around all the time. It wasn't true. The investigation proved it, and there was no outcome of it. There was no apology. Apologize to the fans.
The public's trust in Reese quickly eroded as the inconsistencies in her story became glaringly obvious. For the WNBA, the situation was equally damaging. The league had conducted a thorough investigation, but the damage to its credibility was already done. They had been easily manipulated by a viral narrative, and now they were left looking weak and indecisive. The WNBA's handling of the situation, from the investigation to the public statements, only highlighted its vulnerability to public pressure and social media-driven stories. The league had failed to step in sooner, allowing the controversy to spiral out of control. As a result, fans lost trust in not only the media and Reese, but also in the WNBA itself. The organization, which is supposed to be a pillar of professionalism and integrity, had been complicit in spreading a false story. The fans, the lifeblood of any sport, felt betrayed, manipulated, and disillusioned by the entire affair. And all of this, sparked by a single sentence Reese thought wouldn't matter. One careless admission on live television unraveled a months-long saga that revealed more about the media, the league, and the players than anyone had anticipated. If you've learned something new or feel like the truth was finally uncovered, drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss out on more explosive stories.